I welcome you all to our YouTube channel, Quizra Iaba Paulin. If you like what we do, don't miss out on subscribing. Today, we're going to talk about 10 untold stories of Jesus Christ. Did you know that Jesus traveled to India? Stay tuned. Some of which remain lesser known or untold in traditional Christian teachings. Here are some elements of these untold or alternative stories and perspectives about Jesus. 1. Lost years of Jesus. The Gospels give little information about Jesus' life between the ages of 12 and 30. This period is sometimes called the lost years. Some writers and thinkers have speculated that he traveled to places like Egypt, Persia, or even India, learning from different spiritual traditions. Notably, the Russian scholar Nikolai Notovich claimed to have found ancient records in a Himalayan monastery that depicted Jesus studying Buddhism and Hinduism. Although this claim has been widely debated, it sparked significant interest in Jesus' potential exposure to Eastern philosophies. 2. The Gospel of Thomas and other Gnostic texts. The Gospel of Thomas, a non-canonical text discovered at Nag Hammadi in 1945, is a collection of sayings attributed to Jesus that are quite different from those in the canonical Gospels. This gospel emphasizes self-knowledge and inner divinity, framing salvation as an inner journey rather than one based on external events like crucifixion and resurrection. Many Gnostic texts portray Jesus as a mystical teacher rather than focusing on the miracles or narratives found in the New Testament. 3. Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Some non-canonical texts and speculative theories have portrayed Mary Magdalene not only as a devoted follower of Jesus, but also as his companion or wife. The Gnostic Gospel of Philip refers to Mary Magdalene as someone whom Jesus loved more than the other disciples, though it is heavily disputed if this implies a romantic relationship. Modern works like the Da Vinci Code popularized the theory of a marriage between Jesus and Mary Magdalene, though it lacks historical evidence. For the Essenes and the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Essenes were a Jewish sect who lived in the time of Jesus and followed a strict monastic lifestyle. Some historians suggest that Jesus may have had connections to the Essenes, whose teachings emphasize purity, communal living, and apocalyptic prophecy, similar to aspects found in the teachings of Jesus. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in the 1940s, reveal that the Essenes had concepts of a teacher of righteousness and an impending messianic age, which some scholars believe could have influenced Jesus or his early followers. 5. Jesus in Islamic tradition. In Islam, Jesus is regarded as a prophet and Messiah, but not as the Son of God. The Quran recounts that Jesus performed miracles, was born of a virgin, and will return in the end times. However, Islamic tradition asserts that Jesus was not crucified. Instead, he was taken up to heaven by God. This differing perspective on Jesus' life and role has added a unique dimension to the story of Jesus within global religious narratives. 6. Hidden teachings in the Lost Gospels. Besides the Gospel of Thomas, other texts like the Gospel of Mary and the Gospel of Judas offer different views on Jesus' teachings. In the Gospel of Judas, for example, Judas Iscariot is presented not as a traitor, but as someone fulfilling Jesus' will by aiding in his arrest. These lost Gospels provide glimpses into early Christian communities with diverse beliefs and interpretations of Jesus' message, some of which were later deemed heretical. 7. Jesus as a political figure. Some historians view Jesus not solely as a spiritual leader, but as a social revolutionary opposing the Roman occupation and challenging the Jewish establishment. This interpretation presents Jesus as a figure advocating for social justice, equality, and the liberation of the oppressed, ideas that were potentially subversive to the authorities of his time. His actions in the temple, for instance, where he overturned tables of money changers, could be seen as a direct protest against the economic exploitation by the elite. 8. Jesus' family and the role of James. Early church history shows that James, the brother of Jesus, played a significant leadership role in the Jerusalem church after Jesus' death. Some historians argue that James was an influential figure who continued Jesus' work, often sidelined by later Christian traditions that emphasize Peter and Paul. The Gospel of Thomas and other sources suggest that Jesus' teachings were often passed down within his family, with James potentially seen as his true successor. 9. The historical quest for the real Jesus. The quest for the historical Jesus has led scholars to differentiate between the Jesus of faith and the Jesus of history. This approach attempts to identify the human aspects of Jesus' life and teachings by analyzing cultural, political, and historical contexts of his time. Scholars like Albert Schweitzer, Reza Aslan, and others have contributed to this approach, arguing that understanding Jesus' life requires a separation of religious doctrine from historical reality. 10. The Shroud of Turin and physical evidence. The Shroud of Turin, believed by some to be the burial cloth of Jesus, has sparked intrigue and debate for centuries. While scientific studies on the shroud's authenticity have yielded mixed results, many view it as a possible physical connection to Jesus. This relic adds a dimension to the search for tangible traces of Jesus' life, even as it remains a subject of fascination and skepticism. Conclusion: these untold or alternative stories and perspectives reveal the depth of interest in Jesus as both a spiritual and historical figure. They reflect the complexity of his legacy across different cultures, philosophies, and religious traditions. Each interpretation or legend adds another layer to the story of Jesus, showing how his life and teachings continue to inspire and be reimagined. Thank you for watching, and again, subscribe on our YouTube channel, Quizrayab Paulin. See you in our next episode.